You need to take holidays. You need to have that in your calendar. If you're planning yourself out enough and you've got the right people in the right seats, put those short breaks in there. Give yourself the authority to shut off.
One of the questions we ask is, can you step away from your business for 6 weeks and it still runs brilliantly without you? And if the answer is no, you've got a problem, right? But something you and I do every year, December or January, sometimes very early in January, is
if you want more time, money, freedom, and have a business that's not reliant on you, then you're in the right place. Each week, Mark Creedon, along with some of the very best business minds in the world, will take you through simple, practical steps you can take to create the business you always wanted. From his own practical experience, Mark will show you how to work less, make more, and get the business you always wanted, the one that you deserve. Now here's your host, one of Australia's most sought-after business coaches, Mark Creedon.
welcome to the latest edition of the Mastermind for Business podcast. This is the podcast for you if you are a couple in business, if you're in business with your significant other and you would like to learn how, in about 15 minutes a week, you can navigate the various challenges that come from being in business with your significant other and also scale your business to the point where it no longer relies on you. Joining me in the chair is my significant other, Caroline. So in the chair, on the couch.
On the couch.
On the couch. Welcome, Caroline. Always good to have you here. Hey, the last couple of episodes we've been talking about how important December is and about, December is really important for planning for January. I reckon one of the mistakes that we see a lot is people kind of walk into January a little bit because December is just so hectic.
Yeah.
For a lot of people in service businesses, December's just crazy. And so they kind of collapse it before Christmas.
Yeah.
And then they come back in January and they're a little bit like directionless.
I was going to say lost and a little bit lost and unstructured.
Yeah, lacking in structure.
Yeah.
So if you can do that in December, that's great. But if not, when you first come back in January, I reckon there's a couple of things that you could do around confusion, direction, and clarity.
Yeah. I mean, if you've missed our previous episodes and you didn't take the time, didn't take the time to review the things that we've discussed, have a look and, make sure you've got that vision and momentum and alignment all organized and the accountability is there.
Yeah, so you're talking about creating vision because you made a point when we were chatting about this in preparation for this episode that, some businesses will lose 4 to 6 weeks simply because January is unstructured. So they come in, they've got no direction, the team's a bit confused, there's no clarity, there's right, which means we should be coming back if we've taken a bit of a break. And look, I appreciate that not everybody listening to this is in a business that does take a break in December. So I get that. If you're in a pool shop, for example, you're probably not taking a break. But for those that are, you don't want people to come back refreshed and then come back to, well, I'm refreshed, but I'm kind of all dressed up and nowhere to go.
Yeah, yeah. Last thing you want is confusion when you're kicking off the start of the year and you're coming out of those few days off where you've had a bit of a rest. Yes, it's hectic. Christmas is always hectic with dozens of family and friends everywhere, especially for the cooks in the group.
Yep.
But, if you have to come back to work and there's confusion and all those things that are just, flying up in the air, it's going to be very, very hard to get past January without missed opportunities.
Right. So before we look at opportunities, before we look at energy, I guess, really it's about creating a vision, isn't it? And it's about making sure that you've got like the 4 pillars. We talk about 4 pillars of a really powerful vision. And it's making sure that we've got those clearly in place. And I mean, let's work through what those 4 pillars are. And I think the first thing we need to look at is revenue and sales in your business. Yeah. So, this is a great opportunity to sit back and go, what are your core offers? Where's the growth potential? And what do you need to stop selling?
Yeah.
Well, we did this exercise in our Couples in Business workshop, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because you don't think, I need to keep selling everything that I have because it's revenue coming into the business. But if it's almost pointless if the product one of the products that you're trying to sell is actually costing you more to produce, or it's just not something that you actually like selling anymore. That's where you sort of go, I don't need to sell that anymore.
Yeah. So in the service business, I reckon that's really important, Caroline, because, we can talk about lost leaders and things like that where you go, well, I'm happy to put a product out there which is just designed to capture imagination. It's a lost leader. It costs me more, but it's okay because it gets people to know me and gets them interested in the other products that we sell. But one of the things that we see in service business is that people are often producing a product or a service that they actually don't like.
Yep.
And so it's really draining. And so this is a great opportunity for you. You know what? Like in previous episodes, last couple of episodes that we've spoken about, what's one thing you won't take into 2026? And maybe this is it.
Maybe that's the product.
Yeah, maybe there's a product or service that you're offering that's just draining you, that you don't like having to do, that the energy it takes from you is worth more than the money that it puts in.
Yep.
And so now's the time to just go, do you know what? Maybe that's something that I should consider stop selling. So I think pillar number one is revenue and sales, right?
Yep.
What are the core offers? And let's get really clear, not only on what we're doing. So I think we could do the what and the who. So if we're looking at revenue and sales as the number one core offer, I'd be going, what are we doing? And who's going to be responsible for it? Who's driving it?
Who's driving that?
Yeah, who's driving it? There has to be a driver in every vehicle within your business. There's got to be a driver, right? And revenue and sales is no different.
Yep.
Right. What else do we look at?
Leadership and team. And I always love team. It's one of my favorite things. I mean, looking at and reflecting on who needs to step up in the business. Is there somebody who's a little bit, has more opportunity or...
Potential.
Potential is probably a better word.
Yeah. Potential's a funny thing. My old man used to say, like, $2.50 buy a cup of coffee and all the potential in the world. I mean, he's been gone for a long time. So
you won't get a coffee.
You won't get coffee for $2.50. No, I think you do at 7-Eleven. You get $2 coffee, don't you? I think so. No, I don't know either.
I'm a bit of a coffee snob, so.
That's true. So the concept here, I think, is the opportunity to look at where does the potential exist in your team, but also what do you need to do in order to capitalize on that potential?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be complicated. Keep that in mind all the time. To get more capital, more revenue in your business, it doesn't have to be complicated.
I reckon that's a great reminder, because I think we often, when we're sitting at the end of the year and we're going, right, I'm going to plan for next year, we start to look at really maybe potentially complicated things or processes, or we start to think that, the other thing we do, we think we've got to rebuild the whole thing. And like, let's be honest, I've been guilty of that. Like, I've come into you at the end of the year and gone, right, I'm just burning all this shit down and I'm building it all again. And you go, stop. You don't like.
No, I didn't go. I don't think I went stop. I'm just like, no. What the hell do you think?
I don't think you said what the hell either. But anyway, it's also a temptation because you're looking from the inside at the inside. And sometimes you get a bit bored with what you're doing and you think to yourself that, well, if I'm feeling this way, then people on the outside will be feeling this way as well. And so you think you need to change everything. So I think that's a great reminder about simplicity.
Yeah.
All right, leadership and team, sorry.
Leadership team.
Who needs to set up? What roles need to change?
Yeah. And what behaviours need to shift? If you've got maybe inappropriate behaviour in your office, or is there somebody who puts forward a bit of a laxy-daisy attitude? They might be doing their work, but they deliver in a bit of a laxy-daisy mode. That could be affecting the rest of the team.
Somebody who's like a security light. They only work when someone walks past.
There's some really great posts.
Or a wheelbarrow.
Yeah,
only work when someone's pushing them. I also think that you're talking about somebody who's like, inappropriate behavior. But I think sometimes it's not so much about inappropriateness, but it's about behavior that comes through not even laziness, but just kind of complacency.
Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest things we see is people stop having structured meetings. So they start to get toward the end of the year and they stop having structured meetings because they're tired, they're pushed for time, and we'll say to them, are you still having structured meetings? Oh, no, I just don't have time for it now. Man, that's a big mistake.
Yeah.
Right? So
they're wrapping up. We're wrapping up these. We don't need to have a meeting.
And you're maintaining that consistency now sets you up for the great success. So this is an opportunity to look at, well, what are some of the things, maybe some habits that have crept into the business in the last 6 months or so that we want to change as we move into. So December, January is a great time to look at those things. Right. Systems and operations.
Yes. So we spoke a little bit, we spoke a little bit about this earlier in our earlier episodes. What slowed you down in 2025?
Yep.
What needed to be automated? So what made you work so hard that you didn't need to work hard at?
Yeah.
And automation's an interesting one because you can automate a lot of things and still be authentic in what you're delivering.
Yep.
So, just revisit that of A, authenticity, and B, what you're doing that you don't need to be doing.
And the other thing I reckon that we spoke before about how sometimes habits come in a bit of complacency. I reckon there's often systems and processes that have probably just become a bit loose.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation literally yesterday with one of our mastermind members, and he said to me, I recognize that some of my leadership and my management has become really loose. And so people are starting to, get away with stuff that I normally wouldn't tolerate, but I'm tolerating it because, everybody's tired and everybody's exhausted this time of the year. And I think that's okay. But you've got to then work out, what am I going to do to tighten that stuff up? And what's the process I'm going to put in place to tighten that up for January, so that it's not still all loosey-goosey by the time you get to April.
Yeah, it's fine to loosen the reins on your horse, but you still have to be able to pull them up when they need to.
Yeah. Well,
You'll fall off.
Well, I've done that. I mean, you're good on a horse. Horses always know that I'm scared of them, I reckon. They know that. And I remember last time we went horse riding on holidays, and the lady said to me, "Are you scared of horses?" I'm like, "Yep." She goes, "Yeah, the horse knows it." Great. Do you reckon that horse would do anything I did? Like, I'd pull the reins to the left and it'd just walk right. So I'd go, "No, you're right, mate. I know where I'm going."
The same path as everybody.
It's the same path as it does every single day of the week. All right, so process of knee tightening. I really like this fourth pillar.
Yeah, lifestyle and personal freedom. How many holidays are you going to take that are non-negotiable?
Yep.
Your staff must take holidays for a number of reasons, because you don't want a massive bulk of staff with 6 weeks worth of holidays that you'd...
Well, it's a liability in the business that you don't want sitting on your balance sheet. Yep.
And you need to take holidays. You need to have that in your calendar.
Yep.
Take a big holiday. If you can take a big holiday, you should be able to, if you're planning yourself out enough and you've got the right people in the right seats. But put those short breaks in there and give yourself the authority to shut off.
Well, one of the questions we ask prospects when they apply to join our mastermind program is, can you step away from your business for 6 weeks? And it still runs brilliantly without you. In fact, there's more money in the bank when you come back than when you left. And if the answer is no, you've got a problem, right? But something you and I do every year, December or January, sometimes very early in January, is we preload our calendar.
Yep.
And we teach this to our mastermind members every year in December. But part of that preloading is we map out our holidays. So we know that in May we're going to take a decent break. In March we'll take a short break. In September, October we'll take a short break, so that we know that we're recharging our batteries as we go along. So I think that those holidays is really important. But I reckon the other thing I really like is the concept now is this is an opportunity to look at boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't like boundaries.
No, you don't like boundaries. You don't like boundaries, I don't like rules. But this is an opportunity to look at boundaries where we can go, right, what boundaries have become blurred? Like you and I have pretty good boundaries around when we talk work, and the delineation, if you like, or the definition between work and home.
Yeah.
And we're pretty good at it. But I reckon that gets a bit slack around this time of the year as well. And so it's an opportunity, a bit like I said before about processes tightening up. I reckon you can tighten some of this stuff up as well.
Yeah. But I think what's interesting with boundaries is, boundaries are good when there's a purpose. And if people know what the purpose is of the boundary, it's not so difficult to implement or stand by.
That's the why, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's true of most things. You'll get people on board if they understand why. If you say to somebody, you've got to move that from there to there, okay, you've got to move that from there to there because... But, oh, cool, I get it now. And so I think the same things with boundaries. But now's a great opportunity to set boundaries for yourself and for your team. And then I think the other thing too is just to stop and grab a piece of mirror and just look and go, what version of me do I want to take into the next year? Yeah. Right. So we spoke about what are the things you're going to let go? Like in the last episode, what's the one thing you're going to take in? What's the one thing you're going to let go? But this is in terms of the business. I think this is a great opportunity for you to go, what's one aspect of me that I want to either let go of or preserve moving into the new year?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess in some ways, that's that future dream self exercise that we do with clients, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. What's going to make your business thrive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we look at that future dream self. It's a really simple exercise. So if you're listening to this, you go, well, what's it all about? It's a really simple exercise. And the way I always put it is, imagine that you've been walking down the beach, you stub your toe on a lamp, a genie pops out and the genie says, it's now 1 year hence. So it's now December 2026. I can give you, or January 2027, I can give you what you need to make your business and your life exactly what you want it to be in the next 12 months. What are you going to wish for?
I think a lot of businesses will be going, I really wish it was calm. Calm. I feel confident that everything's going to be all done and dusted by the time I get to have my break. Everything's going to be controlled. The team's going to be controlled.
Systems are working.
Yep. Team is performing.
Yep.
And you just feel personally that you're supported, the team feels supported, you feel supported, and your clients feel supported.
And I reckon it's a great exercise to do. So I would encourage anybody listening to this episode to go, do you know what? I'm just going to do that little exercise where I go, what's something that if I did have that genie, what would I wish for? What would I wish for? And then you document it. And that then becomes your target. Right. These are the things now I'm going to work toward achieving across the coming year.
Yep.
And if you get that right, then in January 2027 or December 2026, whenever you do the exercise, you're going to have achieved at least 70% of it. And remember, 70% is good enough, right?
Yep. What you can also do there as well is often we set things at the start of the year. We lose, if there's great momentum's coming on, get a couple of little roadblocks, potholes and different things coming to the business, different stuff or whatever. You lose track of what you had said at the start of the year. Pop it in your calendar and revisit it. So every end of every month, 30th of every month, go back and revisit what that was.
Yep.
And see if it needs to change a little bit.
Yep.
If you're, keeping up with your wish for end of December.
Yeah, December, January is that's your vision time. This is the time, as you're listening to this now, to go, do you know what? I'm just going to pull back and I'm going to look at those 4 pillars. I'm going to look at what are the things that I can do in terms of my sales, my operations, my lifestyle, my personal freedom, and your team. What are the things that you're going to do on those 4 pillars to help you to have an amazingly successful next year? And that's really that vision alignment and sort of staying in sync. And that's going to be the subject of our Couples in Business
Think
tank coming up in January as well. All right, brilliant.
Thanks,
Caroline. As always, if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, we'd love you to like it. That helps us to get the program out to more people. Of course, we'd love you to share it. If you know somebody who's in business as a couple with their significant other and they would like you, in about 15 minutes a week to learn how to navigate that situation and also to scale their business so it's less reliant on them, please share the podcast with them. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love you to like it. Again, that helps us to get the message out to more couples in business. Subscribe to it so that when new episodes arrive, you get those notifications and you don't miss a single thing. And of course, if there's something that you'd love to hear us talk about, drop it in the comments below. Caroline and I would be only too happy to answer a question or address something you'd like to know about how to be more successful as a couple in business. Till the next episode of the Mastermind in Business podcast, this is Mark Creedon. Please make sure you spend time with those who matter most.